There are always magical things right there in front of us. Sometimes we just aren't alert enough to notice them. But if you truly open your eyes to the world, there is no limit to the beauty you can see.
Chief, just days ago we were talking about Fiona. It had our focus. Now Tropical Storm Ian possibly becoming another major system. Is this sort of normal for this time of year, or is this more active than what we're used to?
No, on the contrary, the activity that we've had not only this year thus far and towards the end of last year is far lower than it was predicted, let alone what it should be. But we're now in the latter half of hurricane season and is definitely ramping up. Now again, Tropical Storm Ian, it is a tropical storm, not very organized. Again, winds are only gusting at 65 miles an hour. I say only because its projections after that is really off the charts. As it continues to move to the west, northwest, by Sunday night, it'll be a Category 1 hurricane. Winds roughly about 80 miles an hour. Watch what happens between Sunday and Monday night. It goes from a 1 to a 3, and from Monday night, as we go into Tuesday morning, it's up to a 4. From Tuesday morning through Wednesday night, it's going to stay as a Category 4 with winds upwards of 140 miles an hour before it makes its way towards Florida.
There, perfect. That's our hero shot. Let's get another boat out there.
Okay. Listen, guys, I need to talk to guys in the ferry.
Come on, get it moving. Get it out of here. Come on.
I'm using the bus driver.
Bottom line is they can't drive the boat. They're actors.
How do we stop them?
Okay, we're going to be accessing the weather program now, so hold on to your hats. You got that? No, I think we're going to want to localize a storm over the boat.
So when you look forward to next year, in your crystal ball of weather, what do you see?
Well, no one can predict the future. However, what you can say is we're going to experience more swings, more wacky weather, more 100-year storms perhaps. Get used to it. This is the new normal.
I'm a theoretical physicist, and I like to say that I walk in the footsteps of giants like Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr. I'm not a philosopher. However, I am rather dazzled by the fact that many of the basic mysteries that we find in string theory and the theory of everything seem to be mirrored in the Zohar and in the Kabbalah.
As a scholar, the most amazing thing of all is the degree to which modern astrophysics sounds like a Kabbalistic text.
Good evening. We begin with breaking news on two fronts. Today, a state of emergency in Florida was widened as the second named storm of the season takes aim. Ian is expected to be a major threat to the U.S. mainland, but will begin in Atlantic Canada. Today, what was Hurricane Fiona roared through 5 provinces with drenching rains and powerful winds. In some places, waves took buildings off their foundations. It is the first time in 40 years a storm this strong has hit this far north. The CBC's Katie Nicholson is in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island.
Adriana, powerful winds are still ripping through the Atlantic provinces as this storm pushes north. Fiona landed here in the wee hours of the morning and knocked out power to thousands of people in 5 provinces. It could be days before that power is restored. There are trees down and power lines down throughout, in some cases on top of people's homes. There's also widespread flooding and coastal surges, historic surges. On the west coast of Newfoundland, it's so bad that some homes were washed out to sea. Now, emergency officials are telling us that it could be days, maybe weeks, before this region recovers.
The CBC's Katie Nicholson, thank you. Fiona has left a week of destruction in its wake. Puerto Rico was hit Sunday and is still recovering. Half the island remains without power. Fiona's killed at least 8 people. And tonight, people in Florida are stocking up on supplies as they prepare for Ian. Meteorologist Chris Warren from our partners at the Weather Channel has the latest.
Good evening, Adriana. There is potentially a very dangerous storm heading in the direction of the United States. For now, it is Tropical Storm Ian with winds at 45 miles an hour. It is moving to the west, but expected to move to the west-northwest. And tropical storm conditions are expected in Jamaica. Hurricane conditions expected for parts of the Cayman Islands. The storm is going to be moving over very conducive waters for development. So here is tomorrow evening, 70 mile per hour. Storm just shy of a hurricane, but then getting very strong, close to a Cat 3 and possibly a Cat 4. Exactly, Adriana, where landfall will be does remain to be seen, but everybody on the Gulf Coast and Florida does need to make preparations to evacuate if asked to do so.
The hurricane is predicted to take. These artificial clouds will block the sun from evaporating more water to feed the hurricane. The reports coming into the control center indicate that the diversionary cloud seeding over Kansas is now creating a flood danger.
We have team coverage with crews in Corpus Christi, Galveston, Matagorda, and throughout the Houston area. But up first, the update, the all-important information from David Paul. David?
Well, the storm continues to get better organized, and the greatest indication of that is the formation of an eye in the center of Hurricane Harvey. Set your bearings. There's Houston, there's Corpus Christi. Here's the center of the storm, and look how you can now see the center very clearly. That is what we call the eye of the hurricane. And the strongest winds are located in the rain band that wraps right around the edge of that eye. That's called the eye wall, and that's where the strongest sustained winds are and will be. Here's the forecast track from the Hurricane Center, which takes the center of the cone here, right between Corpus Christi and Matagorda Bay. So Rockport, Seadrift would take a direct hit from a major Category 3 hurricane on this track. This would be Saturday in the wee hours before sunrise on Saturday morning. They're forecasting maximum winds on 120. There may be some stronger gusts than that as well. So even places well inland like Victoria and Goliad will have hurricane-force winds as we go into Saturday morning. And that will cause damage to structures, especially weaker ones like garages and awnings and rooftops. And then the storm parks itself here and is still sitting near Victoria Sunday morning as a 50-mile-an-hour tropical storm. Now, as the storm is sitting here to the south and west of Houston, that puts us on the dirty side. So this entire time, we have a heavy rain threat as the onshore moisture comes in on the dirty side of that storm. And then this happens. On Monday, the storm begins to move east, 40-mile tropical storm over Matagorda Bay, then slowly heads up the coast and is sitting off the Galveston coast as a 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm on Tuesday. So this is not a wind threat for Houston, but it is a major rain and inland flooding threat because of the associated rain.
As the storm lingers over Texas, the attention now turns to the dangerous rain. Remnants of Harvey are dumping up to 6 inches of rain an hour, and it will not be over anytime soon.
It's a serious storm. It's going to last 4 or 5 days, and quite frankly, this is day 1.
The National Weather Service has issued a flash flood emergency for catastrophic, life-threatening flooding for portions of Brazoria, Fort Bend, and Harris counties, including the city of Houston.
me if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And, as it turns out, the cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you! It's raining! That's unbelievable! Oh. NASA's playing God. It's making its own weather.
What's the pixie doing?
Talking.
What did she say?
She says you're a big ugly girl.
Oh, well, I think she's lovely.
Well, come on, Wendy. Let's go.
Where are we going? To Neverland. Neverland? Peter's taking us.
Us?
Oh, of course. I couldn't go without Michael and John. Oh, I should like very much to cross swords with some real buccaneers. Yes, and fight pirates, too.
Well, all right. But you gotta take orders.
Aye, sir. Me too. But, Peter, how do we get to Neverland?
Fly, of course.
Fly?
Specially equipped robot aircraft are dispatched immediately to release a high concentration of cloud seeding material into the fringes of the storm. Heavier seeding from the ground also helps to subdue the rain by spreading it over a wider area. The controller calls for another view of the hurricane, which has now moved closer to the coast.
It's easy. All you have to do is to... Ha! That's funny.
What's the matter? Don't you know?
Oh, sure. It's just that I never thought about it before. Say, that's it. You think of a wonderful thought.
Any happy little thoughts?
Uh-huh.
Like toys at Christmas, sleigh bells, snow?
Yep. Watch me now. Here I go. It's easier than pie.
He can fly! He can fly! He flew!
Now you try.
Allá! ¡Viene una tormenta!
What did he just say?
He said there's a storm coming in.
Viano tormente. What'd you say? I said there's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming, Ari.
There is a storm coming!
There's a storm coming.
The peaceful transfer of authority is rare in history. As I begin, with a simple oath, we affirm old traditions and make new beginnings. The American story, a story of flawed and fallible people. Many in our country do not know the pain of poverty, but we can listen to those who do. If we permit our economy to drift and decline, the vulnerable will suffer most. We must follow no other course. Every child must be taught these principles. Every citizen must uphold them. Now it is a seed upon the wind, taking root in many nations. In a time of peace, the stakes of our debates appear small, but the stakes for America are never small. The enemies of liberty in our country should make no mistake. Our national courage has been clear in times of depression and war, when defeating common dangers defined our common good. We will confront weapons of mass destruction. We will build our defenses beyond challenge, lest weakness invite challenge. When we see that wounded traveler on the road to Jericho, we will not pass to the other side. We know the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. Do you not think an angel rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm? This work continues. The story goes on. And an angel still rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm. God bless you all, and God bless America.
In Greek mythology, Pan is a deity associated with nature, is a half-human, half-goat. He is usually depicted with the legs of a goat, horns and carrying a panpipe. Pan is considered to be one of the oldest of Greek gods. He is associated with nature, wooded areas and pasturelands, from which his name is derived. Pan ruled over shepherds, hunters and rustic music. He was the patron god of Arcadia. He was often in the company of the wood nymphs, and other deities of the forest. Pan parentage is a bit ambiguous, but according to most sources, he was the son of Hermes and a dryad, or Penelope of Mantinea. Pan was born a mature child in Arcadia. His distinct appearance, half goat, half man, delighted the hearts of all gods, which is why they named him Pan. The god spent most of his days wandering the forests, playing haunting melodies on his pipes, chasing nymphs. For most of the time, he loved naps, even more than he loved his nymphs, which explains why the ancient Greeks believed it was fairly dangerous to disturb them. Like Olympian gods, Pan possessed enormous strength. He could also run for long periods of time, and impenetrable to injury. He could transform objects into different forms, and was able to teleport himself from Earth to Mount Olympus, and back.
You must leave here. This castle is alive.
Who's there?
Do you wish to take your father's place?
Come into the light.
Hey, Cody! There's a storm coming.
The storm is coming.
There's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming, Frank.
Storm coming, kids! Let's get inside!
You can't sleep outside. There's a storm coming.
Storm's coming.
Show me the girl.
Look at her. What if she is the one? The one who'll break the spell?
Hello. You can talk.
Well, of course he can talk.
Hello. Pleased to meet you.
Master's not as terrible as he appears.
I say we kill the beast!
Think of the one thing you've always wanted. Find it in your mind's eye and feel it in your heart.
No! Don't be afraid.
I'm not afraid.
Storm's coming.
The great storm is coming! The wind that overturns the land!
The storm is coming.
There is a storm coming.
Let's get a better sense of Irma's track and potential threat. Lonnie Quinn, chief weathercaster from our New York station WCBS, is here with the latest. Lonnie, good morning.
And good morning to you and good morning, everybody. You know, where Jeff Glor is located down there on Biscayne Bay, we just checked in on the stats. They've already had 1 foot. Now, that's not much, but they've had 1 foot of storm surge, and this storm is miles away. Let me give you the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. This is the latest update that just came in moments ago. You're going to notice the wind speed has come down, and I can tell you why it came down. It was up at 155 miles per hour. It's now down to 130 mile per hour maximum wind. That's because it's interacting with the north shore of Cuba. We've had a landfall that wasn't anticipated, a little wobble to the south. That's what these things do. Okay, they wobble back and forth. It is forecast, though, to continue off to the west-northwest at 12 miles per hour. Right now, 225 miles from Miami, so we've got to get to the track. Has the track changed? Well, it still sees that big turn to the north. very possible to see a landfall around the Florida Keys as a Cat 4. And again, right now at 130 miles per hour, that's barely a Cat 4. 129, you're into a Cat 3. But we believe the Florida Straits, that water is so warm, it's going to strengthen it and then push it up into Florida, possibly staying offshore, but you can't rule that out of having a landfall. The entire state at risk because of the entire width of this storm. Even the East Coast will be affected.
Oh, you all better get your umbrellas out because there's a storm coming. Come on, Jorge, give it to him.
There's a storm coming. What?
There's a storm coming, buddy. There's a storm coming.
You guys know what this represents? Well, I remember it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storming?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm is
We have the world's great military people in this room. I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
But give us a hint on your decision.
Thank you, everybody.
There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne.
There's a storm coming, brother.
There's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming, Dr. Suresh.
You know, they were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops? And if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine.
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio Kaku. Thank you so much.
Comments are still headed.
What else is on?
Yeah, let's see what else is. Coming to you now from the largest studio ever constructed, it's The Truman Show!
Yeah! Good morning!
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
What if?
No scripts, no cue cards.
Morning, Spencer. How's it going?
What if you were watched every moment of your life?
How many cameras you got there in that town?
5,000.
I believe Truman is the first child to have been legally adopted by a corporation.
There's a storm coming.
I sense there's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming.
Alice says there's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming.
Storm's coming.
There she blows.
Do you not think an angel rides in a whirlwind and directs this storm? This work continues. The story goes on. And an angel still rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm. God bless you all. God bless America.
Give me some lightning. Again. Hit him again. God's sake, Chris. The whole world is watching. We can't let him die in front of a live audience. He was born in front of a live audience.
You can do it! Hold on!
Storm coming soon.
A storm is coming, Frank says.
A storm is coming. Our storm.
The storm's coming.
Storm's coming.
Is that the best you can do? You're gonna have to kill me! What you would do with a drunken sailor?
On behalf of the studio, I demand that you cease transmission. Keep running.
What you do with a drunken sailor? I am the morning.
Increase the wind. Increase the wind! I am telling you, for the last... How close is he? Very close. Capsize him. Tip him over. Damn you, Victor!
No, you can't. His tight is up to the boat.
Shut up!
He's gonna drown and he doesn't even care.
Do it! Do it!
I like you, Ben. I was wondering that myself.
Jim Carrey. The Truman Show. Watch what happens.
Well, it happened again. The Artemis 1 moon rocket facing another round of setbacks and delays. NASA is calling off the next launch opportunity, which was planned for Tuesday, because of the possibility of bad weather. We've got Hurricane Ian heading this way. This is just the latest roadblock for the historic program that's already had plans to usher in a new era in space exploration. So for more on this, joining me now live is space history curator at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, Teasel Muir-Harmony. Teasel, thanks so much for joining us. Okay, so Artemis scrapped a third time, this time over weather. This has got to be such a huge disappointment for NASA and not a really good PR moment for them right now.
It is a disappointment. We're all very excited to see the rocket launch, the mission be a great success. But I also think that NASA's doing a wonderful job in making sure that the mission will be a success by delaying it, not risking the effects of weather on the launch, and with earlier launch delays, also ensuring that everything would go well. So it's also something that NASA has experience with. Rocket launches tend to be delayed. So back with the Space Shuttle program, there were 135 missions, and 121 of those were delayed. So this is familiar territory when it comes to getting to space.
It's familiar, but it is quite expensive. If we can pull up, each launch runs about $4 billion. This is already years late. It's way over budget. What is it costing every time it fails to launch?
I don't know the exact numbers of the delays, but I think it's folded into those numbers. It is a very expensive endeavor, and that's part of the reason that NASA's deciding to delay it as opposed to launching it when everything is not perfect. And so it is, in the long run, it makes more sense to delay the mission until we know that it'll be a success.
When I was talking with the gentleman from Belcom and we were discussing the lie, everything he was telling me was different from what we were being told was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things. We lied about...
No way. That's great.
We landed on the moon!
Good over. Roger, you have good thrust.
Come out and they've run out of anecdotes, you know, and they just start making stuff up. Yeah. Like that Neil Armstrong guy. Have you seen him on the talk shows?
Neil Armstrong, you mean the first man to walk on the moon?
Talk about a fish story. Man, and they're buying it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, Neil Armstrong. Hey, wait a minute. You're supposed to be on the moon. I just saw it on TV.
Oh, there's a tape delay and with all solar winds.
A great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost.
We take Gotham from the corrupt, the rich, the oppressors of generations who have kept you down with myths of opportunity, and we give it back to you, the people.
We are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Gotham is yours. None shall interfere. Do as you please.
This is your celebration. And this, the United States of America, is your country.
Step forward those who would serve, for an army will be raised.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action.
The powerful will be ripped from their decadent nests and cast out into the cold world that we know and endure.
We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth.
Courts will be convened.
We will bring back our jobs.
Spoils will be enjoyed.
We will bring back our borders.
Blood will be shed.
We will bring back our wealth.
The police will survive as they learn to serve true justice.
We will be protected by the great men and women of our military and law enforcement.
This great city, it will endure.
Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again.
Gotham will survive.
We will make America great again.
You will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.